Hi everybody, this is Christina with My Confection Obsession. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a tree stump cake. They've become very popular lately, and I actually just made one for a friend's baby shower, and it turned out really well, so I want to show you how to do it. So what I have is a 6-inch frosted cake, and it can be kind of sloppy because we're gonna cover it anyway. And you can either have fresh buttercream or you can let it sit with a crumb coat. If you let it sit, you're just gonna have a little bit of water to attach the fondant that we're gonna be using. So I have my 6-inch cake. You can definitely use bigger sizes, but we're gonna do a little one today. And I have some fondant I already made. I have white fondant and brown fondant. The brown fondant is actually just white with a little bit of food coloring. You don't have to do that, but I find it makes the coloring process go faster. All right, so we're gonna actually start with the top of the cake. So I'm gonna take a little bit of the white, and we're gonna roll out some of it, and you might need a little cornstarch on your fondant. I have a fondant mat. You can do it on a countertop, or I just like it because it's cleaner. So I'm gonna take a chunk of this. All right, so I'm just gonna soften it up a little bit and just kind of knead it and work it a little bit. Sometimes if your fondant sits out, it becomes a bit hard, but you can just kind of warm it up in your hands and it should be fine. All right, set that aside. So the trick with fondant is you give it one good roll in each direction, and then you flip it a quarter turn. So you don't need it very big, or for this one we don't because it's a little cake. So I have it big enough to cover, and what I actually do is I just take the cake pan that I used, because I'm going to make sure that it's going to cover the top. So I'm just going to cut around with the extra here. So we're just trimming away the excess. I have my little fondant top, and I want to make sure it fits before I put any water on it. So I'm gonna put water on it to make it stick because this frosting has hardened a little bit. Actually, I'm gonna paint a little bit of water onto the back of this. And what that does is it makes the sugars that are in the fondant stick to the sugars that are in the frosting. So when it dries, it won't even move. So it's okay if it's not super smooth because it is gonna be a tree stump, but we're gonna take our little tool and do this. So give it a clean finish here. Rub that cornstarch off. All right, so now we're gonna start making it look like a tree stump. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start making little notches, you know, that would be like on the sides of the top of a tree when it gets cut down. So you're just gonna take a little knife and start making notches like that. You can actually even cut pretty much all the way through, so they actually show. So we have all of our notches. And now I'm gonna take this other fondant tool and we're gonna start making circles. Have the top where I'm pretty much satisfied. I made all my notches, I made my rings. So next I'm gonna add a little bit of color. And so the top of a tree, when you cut it on the stump, is actually a bit lighter. So we don't need to actually add too much brown to this. So I'm gonna use my, these are like the edible powders, and I actually prefer these for this particular thing that I'm trying to decorate. I got these on Amazon also. I'll put that link in the show notes as well. So I'm gonna take my brown powder and my paintbrush. And I wanna start off lighter. I would rather err on the side of caution. So I'll probably go in and touch this up a little bit more later, but I'm pretty satisfied with what that looks like now. So now I'm gonna use my brown fondant for this. And I got this mold also on Amazon that works really well to look like tree bark. You can also do it freehand. I just actually really liked how this looked. Made it a little bit easier, life a little bit easier. So I actually thought this brown that I dyed, it turned out a really weird color, but we're gonna airbrush it anyway, so it's gonna look much better. So here's the thing I figured out when I did this for the baby shower, is if you actually try to use this, the whole surface of this, it's actually really hard to attach, so you can just do like half of the surface at a time, and I found it to be much easier and less frustrating. And I also know that my cake is shorter than this, so I'm not gonna need all the way to the top. So I'm simply going to press this in to the mold. Just press it like that. And then it has cornstarch on it, which we can brush off. But you can see it has that really nice tree bark effect. So I'm gonna set it up to the side so I know. I just put my thumb there, cut it off. All right, so same thing. Take a little bit of water on the back. Attach it to the side. And you just stick straight on there, brush off that cornstarch. Okay. So I'm just gonna keep working my way around. can actually do is you can actually take this and put it on the side and press it even more. It's okay if the seam doesn't line up perfectly, because we can kind of mash them together and then we're gonna paint over it anyway. Continued all the way around and attached all the fondant pieces. I'm going to take my mold again and press it, especially on the seams, so that it looks a little bit, so you can't see like the break in each piece. And we're going to paint in those grooves too, so we want them kind of deep. So I'm pretty satisfied here. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take brown food coloring and I'm gonna start painting into the grooves. So I'm actually just gonna use liquid brown food coloring for that. So you can see I'm just painting in the grooves here. And then after I airbrush over it, it looks really good, super realistic. So you can see I painted inside here and it just kind of adds some depth to it. So I'm pretty satisfied. I can always go back in and paint a little bit more after I airbrush, but I don't think it's going to need it. So the last thing we're gonna do is we're going to give it a final coat of airbrushing just on the sides. If you don't own an airbrusher, you can also just buy the cans of airbrushing paint, like they sell them at craft stores, or you can find them online. I like airbrushing, so I own one. It was definitely worth the investment. The one I use is the Cake Boss airbrusher. I found it online, and so I'll put the link to that in the show notes. So we gave it a light airbrush all the way around. It's gonna dry a little bit lighter, and you actually wanna give it a full day to dry. It's really wet, so you're gonna wanna set it somewhere where nobody's gonna be touching it or anything like that. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial to make a simple tree stump cake. If you did, go ahead and subscribe to my channel below. And you can also find my confection obsession on Pinterest, Instagram, and Facebook.